Stairway to Heaven. If you know my videos, I adore a good clean narrative, and we're gonna start with one, but while doing my research I realized this thing is gonna fall apart fast. The story is beautiful and troubled all at once, and I'm grateful so many of you requested this video because I learned a lot making it, but I also learned a lot about myself. This is a story of Stairway to Heaven. Lead singer Robert Plant and lead guitarist Jimmy Page are sitting around a fire in the evening just by their recording and rehearsal studio in Britain. Robert Plant recalls that incredible moment where Stairway to Heaven was born. He says, "Well, it was one of those moments you can't really account for with words. You know how limiting words are sometimes. One night we were sitting there when other members of the entourage had gone off to soothe their savage breasts or somebody else's savage breasts. Jimmy and I sat round the fire and we were talking a long time about balance, getting on with people and people getting on well together. Jimmy started playing the beginning of the sequence, Stairway to Heaven, and the first 2 or 3 lines came immediately. Lyrically, at first glance, Robert Plant's story depicts a miserly elderly woman buying her way into heaven, but it may go further than this. Robert has said he drew inspiration from the works of Scottish writer Lewis Spence, who wrote Magic Arts in Celtic Britain, a blend of Celtic esotericism and spirituality. Many have discussed who this woman could be. This is referenced with the lyrics, "It's just a spring clean for the May Queen," May being the month of Mother Mary. But as the lyrics meander further, it seems to me that the woman who kicks off the song represents all of us, like holding up a mirror to society and questioning our materialism, while simultaneously ushering us to search for a more spiritual harmony with the lyrics. "And if you listen very hard, the tune will come to you at last, when all are one and one is all, to be a rock and not to roll." Possibly Robert Plant is discussing the need to be strong as a society as we confront our own shortcomings. Of course, this is my own interpretation, but I do love to hear yours in the comments. That's probably one of my favorite things to read, to be honest. You all have so many unique theories. Musically, the song really does ramp up from start to finish. Beginning with the acoustic guitar and recorders, it sweeps in like a song from another time. You never really know what you were in for the first time you heard this song, were you? Jimmy Page says, "I wanted to try to put something together which started with a fragile exposed acoustic guitar. That was an idea of John Paul Jones to put the recorders on, and he played the recorders. I was thinking more of an electric piano. The idea of Stairway was to have a composition whereby it would keep unfolding into more layers, more moods, and the subtlety of the intensity of the overlay of the composition would actually accelerate on every level. So it keeps opening up as it continues." Jimmy Page is immortalized with his solo in this song, as it truly does kick off yet another layer and mood to its timelessness. And no story about Led Zeppelin, before we get into the legal stuff, would be finished if we didn't take the time to discuss the legendary John Bonham. He comes in at the absolute middle of the song, held back until the right moment like Led Zeppelin's best weapon, especially as someone's going to need to encourage the tempo to stay on time while becoming faster and faster. Only a few drummers seem to have that innate sense of time and rhythm. I assure you, John Bonham has it in spades. Jimmy agrees as well. He says, almost the moment he died, they put him in Playboy as one of the greatest drummers, which he was. There's no doubt about it. There's never been anybody since. He's one of the greatest drummers that ever lived. Truer words have never been said. And speaking of the truth, what on earth is going on with that opening arpeggio? Did they steal it? Well, after I briefly explain the situation, I'm going to give you my opinion as a songwriter, and I hope we can have a civil discussion about it in the comments. So, the LA rock band named Spirit had a song in 1968 called Taurus, and many people, including the members of Spirit, says Stairway to Heaven, which came out a couple years later, sounds really similar. Does it sound similar? Yes. Yes, it does. And couple that with the fact that even though some members of Led Zeppelin maintain they never heard that song before Spirit, Led Zeppelin did open for Spirit on their first American tour, so the chances of them hearing that song were pretty good. So Spirit and team sued and lost in 2016, appealed, and the battle is still continuing, and the argument still continues. Here's my gripe. Every single person who has ever written a song, a lick, a tune, a jingle, etc., has met someone else who will say, that sounds a lot like this other song. By that measure, Pachelbel's Canon is pretty much the most ripped off song ever made. And some people will claim that it's not just the chord progression, but the way in which it's played. I don't agree. It's just an arpeggio. And if you really want to find a similarly played set of chords, I bet my bottom dollar that you can find it well before Led Zeppelin and Spirit ever existed. It's not an inventive playstyle or progression in the slightest. You can't copyright a chord progression or how it's played. This whole thing makes me think of Robert Kearns, an American engineer who fought against Ford Motor Company for his invention of the intermittent wiper. Ford argued that Robert didn't invent anything because he could just buy all the electronics and arrange them together. Robert won against them by referencing Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities' opening sentences. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Robert alluded to the fact that even though Dickens didn't invent those words, his arrangement of those words was the invention in and of itself. Stairway to Heaven's invention wasn't the arpeggio in the beginning of the piece, but the arrangement of everything within the song. The lyrics, vocals, guitars, movements, drums, for heaven's sakes, recorders. So many people coming together to develop a new piece of art that never existed before, and they should have that ripped away from them? Because of what? Of a few finger-picked chords? Are people really saying that everything that makes Stairway to Heaven wonderful is useless because of a common chord progression? But I guarantee you, a good song is always greater than the sum of its parts. Whew, we got through it. What a song and what a story. I know this one's going to encourage a lot of discussion in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. And while we're talking and maybe even debating, you might enjoy this sad little love song I made. It's called Destroyer.
Breeze always brings its petals to scatter in your hair. I sigh with silent jealousy, I know I can't compare. The reeds in the stream sing a melody that I could have never sung. The flowers in the field, they turn to you like the sun. You're becoming a god to me. I saw you rise from the river. Are you one that devours me? Are you death, the destroyer? How many lives have we chose to be together? Like the child of infinity, you are comforted by time. I have given you all of me, but it's nothing hard to find. Have you ever felt loneliness or get angry? Have you cried? Do you count my sunsets? Was I scared when I died? You're becoming a god to me. You saw me drown in the river. Are you one that devours me? Are you death, the destroyer? How many lives have we chose to be together? Long live your life, wherever it goes. Take me, let me see. Long live your light, whenever I go. Please wait for me. You're becoming a god to me. I saw you rise from the river. Are you one that devours me? Are you death, the destroyer? How many lives have we chose to be together?
If you enjoy these videos and want to support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. My videos will always be free, and this is a great way to help me make them better for you. Check out my debut album, The HollyHobs, on Spotify and Apple Music, and click the like button, subscribe, and notification bell because that is the best way to get notified when a new video is released. See you next time.